a child again. I wanna go back to my childhood. I wanna go back to my childhood. I wish I was a child again. You know, and I do believe that people take this idea of growing up or grow up in the wrong context, because me and my friend, we were like talking a lot about this. We were talking about the idea of having that kind of childlike spirit again, having that kind of what do you say, having that kind of that spirit inside of you, just spirit in it, that what do you say, that curiosity, all that kind of childlike spirit, having it once again, even when we're grown up. Because people take growing up, the idea of growing up, in the wrong context. We want to feel like children again. We want to be curious about the world. We want to be curious about that flower, or we want to ride our bikes during sunrise or during sunset. We want to do stupid things again. It's just inside of us. It's just a part of us. And many of us, many of us, including me, many of us, we kind of close that door. We kind of close that door. We kind of shut that spirit down, shut that light down inside of us. That's our light, you know. And I believe, to in my experience, that's why my life was very kind of sad, very kind of depressing over the past few weeks. Right now it's okay, but so because that's why our lives are, because in most cases, in my case, that's why I was depressed, because I forgot what it was like to be a child, having that spirit, having that kind of childlike spirit inside of us, you know. And this can happen due to a lot of reasons why we shut this thing down, because our lives are just way too depressing. We might be working a job we don't like, all these kind of things has to take into account, you know. And what I mean by growing up in the wrong context is, like, we want to be curious about the world. We want to do these things, obviously we can't throw tantrums like a child. We can't blame everything, or we can't act out of our feelings in most cases, as men. But we still have, as I mentioned, we still have that kind of curiosity. We still have that kind of spirit. We still have that kind of thing inside of us, As I said, that's our energy that we give. That's our light. That is our light inside of us. And we need to stop shutting this light down. Especially like me, we need to stop shutting this light down. And I believe some of our days can be dark. Some of our days can be a bit low, bit bad than other days. But I believe it's important that in these days is what we should try to find our light. In these days is what we're meant to, what do you say, find that light, find that spirit things, find that spirit energy, And in my experience, what I've done is a couple of things, and I want to share that things with you today. The first thing that I did was to leave my house. Okay, you need to leave your house. You can't be cooped up in your house or in my room all day long. We need to get out of our house more often. Okay, it does not matter where we go. For me, what works is, I have a book here where I wrote everything down so I don't miss anything. So that's what I'm looking down. But yeah, for me, what works is going out into the nature. I believe when I'm out and about in the nature, I feel like I'm way more curious about things. I hear the birds saying, I hear I look at different flowers, I look at different animals, and all these kind of things. My curiosity kind of lightens up in the nature. For most people, it's the nature. For most people, it can be going anywhere that you haven't been to before, or you go somewhere that you have been to before, And but this time you go without your headphones. You go without any distractions. You observe what's around you. You observe the light, you observe the sounds, you observe everything around you. And that is a childlike spirit. Being in nature, leaving your house, and most importantly. You know, and the next advice that I've put into my life is being social. Being social with good friends. With good friends. Because for example, for me, I'll actually give you a story. I was actually cycling, and I just went to this park. I've been to this park like lots of times. I was actually and I saw this guy trying to do a handstand. I saw this guy trying to do calisthenics. I went up to him and I had a conversation with him. We turned out to be best friends. In like a matter of one day, we turned out to be like best friends. And and it was so fun because at the second day we decided to do calisthenics in the park, and I decided to join him in calisthenics. I remember we were doing like lots of pull-ups, we were doing a lot of push-ups and all this, and we were like climbing up this like kind of hill. We were just like jumping over the hill and everything. And I can't help but notice, I felt like a child again. And I was discussing this with him, I felt like a child again. We felt like children again, doing these things, being social with other people, doing pull-ups during sunset, in calisthenics, doing calisthenics during sunset. Whatever it is, just be social with people. Call up your best friend, call up a good friend. Go do something. Go do calisthenics, go run around the park, go jog, go do a challenge or whatever. It can make you feel like you're accomplishing something. It can make you feel good. It can make you feel like a child again. The next advice that I put on myself is fiction. Reading fiction. Reading is probably the best way, but I've also like played video games like with fiction in them, like fictional, being in a fictional world, or reading fiction or playing fiction or doing whatever fiction. Reading is the best, as I mentioned. um, why this is because if you think about the video games that we used to play as a child, online, it can mostly be like story based video games, like for example, I remember when I used to be a child, I used to play a lot of Minecraft, all that kind of stuff. And like right now, I feel like we've like gone into this like competitive video games, like Call of Duty or like Fortnite or whatever. I'm gonna cut all of that video games out. Like I never was a fan of them. Like I never really enjoyed them. I enjoyed them at one point, but then after that, it's got kind of dead. Like, how much Fortnite can you play? So I've resorted to more like fictional video games. Like video games I used to play like as a child, like Minecraft. It can encourage your curiosity. And I also started playing a fictional video game called Stray. It has a good story. You can be curious. You can roam around the world, and it's like games that have a good story, games that have a good fiction in them. It can make you feel like you're part of something. You're part of something exciting. And I believe it can, what do you say, light up your imagination again. It can light up your imagination. It can make you feel very imaginative. The next thing I believe is competition. Compete. This can also tie into what I said about being social. You can like compete in a calisthenics challenge or something with your friend, but competition, I think, is important. You can do anything competitive. It doesn't have to be like anything extraordinary, but like what I found out was you can do jujitsu, you can do karate, you can do football, anything that competes, anything that's competitive, anything that has a competition in them, and especially competing with other people. You're working, you're accomplishing towards a certain challenge. You're all trying to beat off of each other and trying to work towards a similar goal. We're getting better at something. We're focusing on something with teammates. And I feel like this can like light up in our brains, like when we used to be small. If you want to remember, like when like we used to have these like playtimes, right, with our friends, with our family. I feel like this is just another version of it. In your brain, it just tricks you. Okay, it's playtime now. Whatever, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that's really important. It can open up that kind of warrior, that kind of competitive, you know, that childlike spirit inside of us. Competition, you know, and I feel like that's very important. To be honest, I could take this advice too, because I was actually thinking of joining jiu-jitsu or something over summer, just to like focus on something. But yeah, competition. I hope you got some value from this video. This is what I've been thinking over the past like few days. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.